just so hi everyone, my name is Philip Braham. I am the founder of MediMatch. Ainul Islam, I think, had a family emergency, so is not able to join us. I'm just checking to see if he's available. I'm not sure he is because he has a family emergency, so I'm going to be doing the presentation on my own. Ainul is actually working in the UK, and thank you to Ainul for organizing this, along with Dr. Swaroop Dutta. Thank you very much for organizing today's event. And we welcome people from India, a country that I have visited many, many times. Lovely people, wonderful people. So it's a pleasure to see so many of you here today joining us, taking a real interest in building a career as an ODP and your route to the UK. So this will give you a lot of information on how you actually get to the UK. So this is me. I'm Philip. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in healthcare for over 12 years now. I've worked with many, many thousands of international medical graduates. I've successfully built companies in the past. And I've helped thousands of people like yourself relocate to the UK. So many, many thousands of candidates I've helped relocate to the UK. I've been to India, as I said, a number of times. I've visited a number of hospitals in India. I've had very good relationships with people in the likes of Max, Apollo, Fortis, Kokila-Ben, and many, many others. So I know India very, very well. And I'm very passionate about helping international graduates and helping them get to the UK. So I'm very passionate about that. And I'm very passionate about giving you the right information and the right tools, because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. So it's important that you, as ODPs, have the correct information for when you want to come to the UK. That's me, some photos of me in India. As I said, I visited India many, many times, visiting hospitals and visiting nursing colleges as well, and universities. So as you can see me there, I've been to nursing colleges, spoken to many graduates and students like yourselves, and giving them some really useful information and tips to get to the UK. So how do you move to the UK? This is why we're all here today. Obviously, you need to have a degree with the relevant skills and experience. That's fundamental. Without a degree, I think a lot of people do a diploma, which is acceptable. So without a degree or a diploma, in kind of that operating theatre world, you will struggle to get registered with the governing body, which is the HCPC. So it's really important that you complete your degree. Most people will do a Bachelor of Science. Then you are kind of your first step to getting to the UK. So it's really important that you complete your diploma or complete your degree. And then it's really important that you kind of get, I would say, it's avoid coming to the UK without experience in a hospital setting. So very important that you go down kind of the route of anesthetics, scrubs, surgical, or recovery. So you obviously can get experience in all of them. I think that's really, really positive if you have experience in all of them. A lot of people do like to specialize, especially in anesthetics. But if you are going to move to the UK, my advice is to get some really good rounded experience in anesthetic, scrubs, and recovery, because in the UK, that's what we practice. So it's really, really good to have some really well-rounded skills for when you do come into the theatres in the UK. Typically, I would say that you should have at least 1 year experience working in a hospital setting in India once you graduate. So make sure you get a job after you graduate university, and then you have at least 1 year's experience, and that you can have experience within anesthetic, surgical, or recovery. In order to register with the UK, we have a body called the HCPC. This is the Health and Care Professionals Council. And you can only work in the UK if you are registered with this body. Now, if you're a nurse, I don't know how many people here today are nurses, but if you are a nurse, you will have to register with the NMC, which is different to the HCPC. So I have shared the link here to the HCPC, so you are able to afterwards go on the website and start ensuring that you have all of the documentation. Now, the HCPC doesn't at the moment require you to have the IELTS. So if people aren't familiar, IELTS is the English language test. The NARIC is the body that checks your degree to see if you studied in English. So those requirements are more relatable to actually getting a visa in the UK, but you may need them in the future for the HCPC if they change the regulation. At the moment, you obviously do need to have your degree or your diploma, and that's kind of the first stage. The HCPC will ask for a number of documentation. They will also ask for a fee. So it's important that you do your research and you ensure you have all of the documentation. As I said, that can all be found on the HCPC website. So you can click on the link and that will take you to the HCPC website. As I said before, it's important to have postgraduate experience. So postgraduate is obviously after you have done your degree or your diploma. That means that you should obviously start building out your experience and start handling a number of cases. So that's really important that you put that down on your CV, as I'll show you later. It's really important that if you are not communicating in English on a daily basis, that you build on your English skills. You can obviously do this by taking courses. There's a lot of IELTS and OET trainers in India or online, but I would be reading a lot of journals. There are a lot of medical journals out there. There is an operating department practitioner society in the UK, and there'll be a lot of information that you can get from their website. But it's really important that you have good English, and that is in written and a spoken form. So please make sure you do brush up on your English skills before you do decide to come to the UK. As I said before, you need to get onto the register. You can follow the link that I share here, and that will take you to the applications for international ODPs. So make sure you follow the link here, and that will take you through to the right place. As you can see, they do get a lot of international applications because the HCPC doesn't just accept ODPs, it accepts various different professions, which includes the likes of radiographers. So there are about 14 professions that accept. So they do get a lot of applications, and it isn't the fastest process. If you have all the documentation, it can take a couple of months. It can take, in some instances, up to 6 months if they do ask you for more information. So just be prepared that they may come back to you and ask for more information. But don't be alarmed. That is very common, that they may ask you for extra documentation as well. I'm not sure if a lot of you have started to sign up to the MediMatch app. The platform is open to international medical graduates, so the likes of yourselves, and you can start building your profile and your CV on the platform. So you can start adding in your information. This is an example of a very, very good profile that I took from someone's CV. So as I said to you before, you have to make sure that you give a lot of information. You need to make sure that you mention the cases that you manage on a daily basis. Something you should be familiar with is when you are building your profile, refer to yourselves as a practitioner. If you're an operating department practitioner, please ensure you put that in your MediMatch profile. Please avoid terminology like technician. In the UK, we don't use that word technician. We use practitioner. I can see my friend here, Dipankar, who is now in the UK. Give us a wave, Dipankar. There he is. He's come from India. I can see he's in his scrubs. He will be very familiar with the terminology practitioner. So if I see a lot of profiles where people put technician, in the UK, that's not a familiar term. So that would put you at a disadvantage when your profiles are being seen by the hospital. So make sure that you put practitioner. Include your job title. So if you are an anesthetics practitioner, that's absolutely fine. If you're a scrub practitioner, that's great. If you're a recovery room practitioner, that's also fantastic. If you do all three, put that down. If you're a senior, also you can put senior practitioner. That's absolutely fine. So if you're more senior in your department, include where you worked. Okay, so make sure you put where you worked, the hospital or the environment you worked in. If it's a university hospital, put that down. It's really important that your CV outlines where you're currently working, and include your experience in anesthetic, scrubs, and recovery. So if you have experience in all three, please put it down. The more well-rounded your experience, the better it is. If you haven't got experience in surgical, that's not a problem, but make sure if you do have experience, you put that down. You also need to put in the cases that you handle, and how many that you have would be really, really useful as well. So if you've taken part in general surgery, and you have, been a part of 100 laparotomies, then put that down. Okay, that's really good, so the interviewer can see how many you've got, how many you've been a part of. And when you're ready to come, you can register on our platform. You need to make your profile 100%, and you need to make sure that you have your full registration. Hospitals are not interested if you haven't got your HCPC license. So you will not get matched if you haven't got your HCPC. So make sure that is your primary objective. And then you can start matching and interviewing for specific positions. The questions you're likely to hear will obviously be related to your domain, whether it's anesthetics or scrub, for instance. And they may include also real-time situational events. So it may be events where you're dealing with difficult patients, or you may be in a situation where you're dealing with difficult colleagues, or there may be an emergency in the theater and they need to know how you're going to manage that situation. So it's important that you fully prepare for your interviews, and we provide a lot of information that ensures you'll be able to pass that. Then you'll be able to get sponsored. So if you have Indian passports, which I assume a lot of you have, then then you'll be able to get sponsored by your employer to be able to then obviously work in the UK. So we, as a platform, we don't sponsor anyone, but the hospitals will sponsor you, and they will be able to, they'll pay for that sponsorship, or they'll be able to help you come here. And then obviously you need to get here, and there are a number of things you'll need to take care of in the future. What to consider when you are obviously looking to relocate to the UK. Location is really important. We have hospitals across the UK, hundreds of hospitals across the UK that are constantly hiring ODPs from abroad. So there are many hospitals. If you like big cities, there's the likes of Manchester, Birmingham, London, Nottingham. And we have obviously Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales also as part of the UK. So there are a number of hospitals also hiring in these jurisdictions. Of course, salary is important. Typically, an ODP will come from abroad and be on anywhere from 25 to 35,000 pounds per year. That obviously depends on where you're going to work, whether you're going to work in the NHS, which is our government system, or whether you're going to work in the independent sector, which is more private hospitals. So the salaries will vary, but typically on average, candidates are getting between 25 to 35,000 pounds. There are also relocation, there is relocation support as well. So a lot of hospitals and employers will help you with your relocation costs. So some of them will help with the flights, paying for your first few months accommodation, helping pay for your professional fees. So a lot of them will help you to cover the cost. If you're moving with a family as well, you need to think about that. Obviously, certain places may be more expensive than others. My advice, having done this thousands of times before and helping people around the world relocate, is if it is possible, come on your own first and then bring your family later, just so you can settle down, start to learn the area, start to understand where you need to go, schools, for instance. So it's really important you get to know where you're going to be living and working. And also you want to be focused on the job for the first few months, or even just like the first few weeks, because those are really important. That's the most important time, right? You want to make sure that you're really focused on your new job and you're really settled in that particular area. And you need to then get to know the systems. Of course, many of you are from India. So coming from India, the systems are very different. You know, how we communicate, to the systems, the actual software, the systems that we use, to obviously procedures, protocols, guidelines, everything's very different. So the first few weeks and months, there will be a lot of learning. So you really need to be focused on the job. Accommodation as well. Like I said, a lot of hospitals will help you in the first few months. If not, there is plenty of short-let accommodation companies out there that hopefully you'll be able to find accommodation. Make sure you are aware of visa costs. That can be quite costly. Typically, it could be anywhere from £1,000 to £2,000 to pay for your visa. A lot of hospitals will reimburse this, but it's important that you do save up and you have the appropriate funds to not only cover your visa, but that you also can survive in the first few months, especially the first month before you get your first paycheck. So it's really important that you are aware of the visa cost, and you also do save money before you come here. The UK, the Home Office, which actually are the body that provide the visas to international medical professionals, they will typically like to see that you have, I think it's now over £1,000 in your bank account for the last 3 months. So make sure you are saving and you are able to show that you have those funds available for when you relocate. In the UK, you may, in interviews or when you research on the internet, you may see the word band, bands, banding. And that's how we kind of define the progression in the UK. Typically, you'll start on a band 5. That is kind of just working as a practitioner. When you start moving up the bands, you become more senior. So you may move to a band 6, and that may get you to a senior practitioner level. So it's really important that you familiarize yourself with the terminology, because when you do start to interview, you will see this terminology on the jobs, and you may hear the terminology in the interview. And if you're not familiar, it may catch you off guard. So you are able to move up the bands quickly in the UK. career progression is relatively quick depending on the individual. Not everyone wants to move up. Some people like to spend longer at a specific band. So if you've come to the UK and you're doing really well, you've acclimatized, you're getting to know the system, you may say after a year, well, actually, I'm going to start considering moving up to a band 6. I know quite a few of my ODP friends that are now only been in the UK for 12, 24 months, and they're already moving up to the band 6 level. So moving up to that senior practitioner level, which is fantastic. Like I said before, you can be very specific in the modality, or some hospitals do give you the opportunity to rotate. So yeah, that could give you a good insight into kind of life as an ODP in the UK, and may also help you kind of with your progression. There's a lot of obviously research opportunities in the UK, academic lecturer opportunities in the UK as well. So it's not just about working in kind of your clinical job on a daily basis. There are different avenues for you to choose in the future. So bear that in mind. You may go to an institution that has a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of development opportunities, and has relationships with the universities. So maybe there will be opportunities for you in the future to get involved in research and academia. When you're looking kind of for that management opportunities in the future, this is probably a long way from from maybe or where you are at the moment. But if you are looking to kind of get into management positions, you really want to build up your CV to be able to demonstrate that you have got that leadership experience. We have CPD points in the UK, so continued professional development. So there are a number of courses. There's constantly courses, whether it's online or whether it's in person. We have a lot of courses that are constantly running. There's events that provide CPD points, so it's really important you build up your CPD. And you add all of this onto your CV, because when you are interviewing for positions in the future, they may refer to this in the interview. So it's really important that you do demonstrate this and you showcase this on your CV. So that's all in terms of kind of your journey to get to the UK and what you can expect. There's a lot we can talk about, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of what it's like, how to get to the UK and what life is like in the UK, and to demonstrate to you all that there is lots of opportunity for ODPs in the UK. So we're now going over to the Q&A. If you do have questions, I'm happy for people to raise their hands, or I can see some questions in the chat box on my computer. So Elsa has asked, how much score should get in UKVI? So what is the required score for UKVI is 4.0. So 4 is required in the UKVI. So you should be able to get a 4 in all of the different facets. So listening, speaking, reading, and writing, you should be able to demonstrate that you can get a 4 in all of them. Is there a PhD in Operation Theatre Technician course? Hayal Chowdhury. I don't know the specific answer to that. If there is an actual PhD, I'm not an academic myself, but I could see a gentleman in the room called Ian Douglas Brown, who may be able to get involved and answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Philip. Yeah, there's no. So the current operating department practice course is 3 years degree program, and there's kind of you can go on to do some masters as well, and that, but there's no PhD.
Do you want to introduce yourself so people know who you are?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, yeah. So my name's Ian Douglas Brown, and I'm a clinical lead in theatres at HCA Healthcare UK, based up in Manchester. And I've been an ODP for 23 years. I have to think long and hard now, that long ago. And yeah,
Great.
so there's nothing, there's nothing like, there's plenty, as you've already explained, there's plenty of additional modules and things, you know, like a lot of people go into surgical first assistants and surgical care practitioners and such like, which you know, is a pretty good, you know, offshoot for a lot of staff, and, you know, good career progression, because there's more and more with advances of surgery, particularly robotic surgery, and that in the UK, there's more and more need for that that side of things. But no PhD. It's a degree program in the UK, and there's top up degree modules available as well, in scrub and anaesthetics and recovery, depending on it, of course, which direction people want to go to.
Great. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I saw
No,
you
absolutely.
there. Saw you.
Yeah, no,
saw you there, so I thought you might as well pitch in.
And if anybody's got any other questions they want to fire at me as well, then
are you familiar with the anaesthetic associate course?
I know of it. There's a couple of hospitals in Manchester that do it. You mean kind of the kind of level between operating department practitioner and an anaesthetist?
There's the new course, isn't it? Just been introduced.
So I know there's a hospital in Manchester has been running it for a number of years, and they were one of the first sites to do it. It's not something that I'm familiar with. I'm a paediatric background, so it's not something that would be introduced in paediatrics for sure, because of the nature of you know, it being paediatrics. So it'd be more of an adult based thing. Don't know anything on there, I'm afraid.
So that's a good question. So you've obviously got a pediatric background. So obviously the audience are from India. So would you say that coming from India, they should kind of have exposure to both, or if you were hiring someone from India, what kind of advice would you give them when it came to kind of pediatrics and adults?
Certainly, anybody coming from overseas or anywhere really with pediatric skills are probably going to be far more in demand than an adult kind of trained, you know, backgrounds, because there are much fewer pediatric centres in the UK. You know, so there's more demand. You know, there's not many people out there with the paediatric skills, so their jobs are in demand. So with adults though, it's much more there's many more hospitals in the UK with for adults. So it just depends. There's more scope for vacancies and job positions with adults because there's far greater adult hospitals in the UK.
Yeah, so I guess the advice would be that if you are working in a children's hospital, then it's really important to demonstrate that on your CV, because I guess if the likes of Ian or other clinical leaders are interviewing, they may not be familiar with your institution. So it's really important that you demonstrate kind of where you're working. And if that is a children's hospital, and like Ian mentioned, there are not only opportunities for people with adults experience, but also people with pediatric experience. So if you do have that experience, well, that is the route you intend to go down. You are very much in demand. So Ian will hire you in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Do we have any more questions, please? Any more questions? Feel free to.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Who is this?
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you that you have been really helpful for upcoming students like me. And second most, I would ask about MRI radiographer, cardiac MRI radiographer. I'm a second year BSc radiology student. I live in India. And like, what is the minimum experience required to get a job of MRI or a cardiac radiographer in the United Kingdom?
Okay, so you are a radiographer. You're not an ODP.
Yes, I'm
And
a radiologist.
yes, okay. So this was specifically for ODPs, but I can answer that. Who am I talking to? Sorry, is this Rehan? Who is this? Who's asked the question? What's your name?
My name is Rehan.
Your name's Rehan. The line is really bad. Sorry, I'm gonna have to put you on mute.
There's
Rehan.
kind of networking. I'm so sorry.
Shadi, do you mind putting Rehan on mute? The line is really bad. I can answer that. So firstly, obviously, you need to get your HCPC registration if you intend to work in the UK. So you need to go down the radiographer route. Then in terms of experience, typically, most hospitals in the UK will be looking for at least 1 to 2 years experience, postgraduate experience.
Okay. Okay.
Six, I would say that you probably any less than that, may put you at a disadvantage when coming to interview. And not because you wouldn't be good at the job, but because for radiographers, the competition is relatively high. So they usually will put the experience level on Medimatch at least 1 year of postgraduate experience. And I think that's important as well, that you don't run before you can walk. I think it's important that you do gain exposure and experience to the modalities that you have an interest in, and you bring those skills to the UK, because you want to give yourself the best chance of success here.
Right. That's good. So I just take
I'm sorry, Rehan. You're better off typing in the chat, because I cannot. It's really a broken line. So we're gonna have to mute you. Sorry, Rehan. We're gonna have to mute you. Does anyone else have any questions? Any other questions, please? If you do have any questions, feel free to write them in the box. After the HCPC registration, where should I search for the job? Well, I guess the presentation was clear. You can sign up to the platform and put in your experience. Now, if you put in the wrong information, then that will, work against you when it comes to actually matching you with the job. So make sure you put in the right information, you put in the right number of years of experience, and the modalities that you have experience in is really important. So make sure you get all the information correct. And then when it comes to things like location, if you're relatively open-minded, then you can put in that you're open-minded. Obviously, when it comes to salary, make sure it is in line with the salary I've mentioned today. If you put in that you're looking for a very, very high salary, then that will obviously work against you when it comes to matching with live opportunities. How much minimum experience is required for HCP registration? Now, I'm not an HCPC registration expert, but I don't think they actually ask you for how many years of experience you have. They're more concerned with your qualification certificates. So that's more important than how many years of actual experience that you do have. It's important that you have the right documentation. That's the most important thing. So it's important that you go onto the HCPC website, you follow the link that I've shared today. We'll share the presentation with everyone afterwards, and then make sure you have all the documents. I would start, if you're planning to come to the UK in the next 12, 18 months, I would start collecting all of the documentation now, rather than a couple of weeks before you're planning to move here. If you have any question, okay, cool. Is it okay, cool. I think I answered that question. Yes, anyone have any more questions? Otherwise, we can wrap this up. We could also we'll provide an email address as well. That will be hello@medimatch.io. We'll send it around to everyone that's attended today, but the email address is hello@medimatch.io. So if you do have any questions, feel free to write those questions, or feel free to share kind of our information with your colleagues that weren't able to join today. It is free to join the platform. You do not have to pay to join the platform. MediMatch is 100% free to any healthcare professional. That's a good question. Great. So thank you so much to everyone who has attended today. A big thank you to Ainul, who I know couldn't join us today due to a family emergency, but he has been wonderful in organizing this along with Dr. Swaroop Datta. So thank you so much for helping us organize and bring such wonderful people together today. So thank you. I'm going to actually switch off and we're going to stop the recording now. So thank you so much.